In this video, we're going to subtract two rational expressions, and specifically, we'll look at the denominators that are similar to one another. So the reason why I chose to do an example with subtraction versus addition is that subtraction is almost more difficult when there's negative signs in the numerator of that second fraction. Often subtraction signs get dropped or forgotten and they're wrong, so I want to make sure that you get the correct signs on your numerators. So our first step here is we're going to write out one giant fraction bar. And I know to do this because we have the same denominator. So same denominator. When we have the same denominator, instead of having two separate fractions, we can have one single fraction with one denominator. It looks a lot cleaner because there's not two parts, there's just one. And then for the numerator, we'll write the first, so this first numerator, 6y squared minus 4y. You can rewrite that just as it is, but we have to remember that we're subtracting this entire quantity from the first one. So we're subtracting this quantity of 12 minus 3y. So when I go to write the numerator, I need to subtract the entire quantity of 12 minus 3y. So we don't just write down the numerator and denominator. I put this extra set of parentheses only around the second numerator so that I make sure to get the correct signs because I'm subtracting a bunch of stuff, not just one thing. All right, so let's start cleaning this up. I want to get rid of these parentheses. So let's rewrite our fraction bar. We'll put a 2y minus 3 in the denominator. And then the first two terms, 6y squared minus 4y, nothing changes there. But now we need to distribute. So we'll go to our negative sign and multiply that by the 12, and then distribute again to the negative 3y. If it's helpful, you can put in a 1 in front of the parentheses, so it looks like you're actually multiplying a number times something else instead of just this negative sign that's flipping signs. So if I keep that negative 1 there, I'll think of this as negative 1 times 12, which is now negative 12, and then negative 1 times a negative 3y. So I know a negative times a negative, so I'm doing negative 1 times negative 3y. A negative times a negative makes a positive, and then 1 times a 3y is just a plus 3y. So I'm working my way to simplify this expression. I've done so far by getting rid of these parentheses, but now I need to combine any like terms that I might have. So let's write down our denominator again, 2y minus 3. So we have 6y squared. I didn't see anything else that had a y squared to it, so that term is all by itself. But there is a negative 4y and a positive 3y, so that's a minus y. They had like terms, and then the 12, it doesn't have any other like terms, so that's just minus 12. I can even probably get rid of a little bit of that fraction bar. Oops, let's bring that guy back. All right. So my goal is to simplify this after subtraction. So let's keep on simplifying. Let's write down our denominator again, 2y minus 3. I notice that the numerator might be able to be factored, so I'll set out two sets of parentheses and see what I can do. Now there is a little bit of a hint here. I noticed that the denominator has a 2y, and 2 times 3 makes 6, so maybe it's possible that one of my factors is 2y minus 3. Now this is just a hunch because, well, The textbook likes to make some nice problems sometimes and cancel out numerator to denominator, so I'm going to go with that hunch and see if I'm right. That would mean that if this first term, 2y, is actually there, then I need to say, well, what times 2 makes 6, and that would be a 3, and y times what makes y squared, that's a 3y. And then I have this 12, so I'm doing the last terms now. If there's a negative 3 in this set of parentheses, how do we get to negative 12? Well, I multiply that by a positive 4. Now, if I didn't have this hunch already that there might be a 2y minus 3, I would just start guessing and checking. What two numbers multiply to be 6? What two numbers multiply to be 12? And start putting in numbers at the beginning and ends of the parentheses. So I'm going to check this real quick to make sure that I did this right. So 2y times 3y, that's 6y squared. 2y times 4, so that's plus 8y. Negative 3 times 3y, that's minus 9y. And then negative 3 times positive 4, that's a minus 12. So let's see, it's 6y squared minus y minus 12. And yeah, that's what we started with. So it looks like I did do my factoring correctly. So at this point, because I have a 2y minus 3 in the numerator, 2y minus 3 in the denominator, I could even emphasize that they're more the same by putting parentheses there. These are the same terms. They cancel out to become a 1, just like we've been doing. And the factor that's left over is 3y plus 4. So we are all done. We have now just subtracted two rational expressions by first putting the numerators on one numerator, simplifying, and then when we get to a polynomial that can be factored, we did factor, and then we simplified the polynomial, canceling like terms, and then getting to our final answer.